click it. Got it. All right, thanks everyone. So welcome to our little event, Walking Maps in the Hilltowns. I think I know pretty much everyone. My name is Clark Bankert. I work for Healthy Hampshire and the Collaborative for Educational Services, and I've been kind of leading and facilitating the Walking Maps program for, I don't know, a long time now, 6 or 7 years, I guess. So we're here tonight to essentially, we're at 8 maps having been created in the Hilltowns. Woohoo! In fact, do I have a slide about that? Not quite yet, but so we just thought it would be a really great time to gather everyone and sort of just give you an update about the progress we've made with the Walking Maps program, and give you all a chance to share with each other how you're using the maps. And that also helps us understand how you're using the maps. And we have some ideas for next steps. And so our agenda tonight is really just to spend a couple minutes doing a welcome, which is what I'm doing right now. We'll do quick introductions. As I said, we'll do a brief overview, very brief. And if Chester folks who are here want to share specifically how they're using their maps, we'll have a moment for that. And then we will spend most of the meeting kind of just giving everyone a chance to go around and saying, you know, a success that you've had using the maps in your community, and maybe a challenge. So a chance to share with each other. And then we will spend some time at the end talking about what's next, because we, as in me and Kristen and Joan, have some ideas about what we might be able to do next with this program. And so we'll share with you and sort of take the pulse of the group, or kind of your feedback about some of our ideas. So that's our agenda tonight. And we can just go right into some brief introductions. I'll start with myself and then go to Joan and Kristen, and then you all can introduce yourselves briefly in the chat. So I work with Healthy Hampshire and the Collaborative, and we do this. We are specifically focused on the Walking Maps portion of a grant held by the Hilltown CDC, which is a healthy aging grant to improve walkability in the Hilltowns. Prior to that grant, I was funded under various other grants to do Walking Maps. So this is kind of just the latest funding source that we've been able to find to continue to provide this resource to the Hilltowns. And there's other pieces to that grant that we can briefly explain. But first, maybe I'll pass it to you, Kristen, and you can introduce yourself and then pass it to Joan.
Sure, thank you. So hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces and some people I don't know yet. My name's Kristen Whitmore, and I work with Clark at the Collaborative for Educational Services on the Healthy Hampshire initiative. And I've really just been supporting Clark in the Walking Maps work. So I've worked on 2 maps, and look forward to more maps in the future, or coordinating amongst all of you who have already made maps to think about how we could support each other's work and get people to use the maps and enjoy them. So I'll pass it to Joan.
Hi, everybody. I think I have met all of you at one point in time during our ventures in creating maps. Joan Griswold, I work for the Hilltown CDC, Rural Health Project Manager, and I work with Healthy Hampshire, and we collaborate with Walk Boston to bring in folks from Walk Boston to do walk audits in some of our communities. Not every community that has done a map has done a walk audit. So if that's something that sounds interesting as we tell you more about it, please let me know.
Thank you, Joan. So yeah, we're the team on the Walkability Project. And as Joan mentioned, as part of that grant, there's also formerly Walk Boston, now renamed Walk Massachusetts. That's a new thing for them, which is, I tell you, the Hilltowns are responsible for that, because we've been working with Walk Boston, now Walk Massachusetts, for years. I think the first walk audit we did was either in Goshen or Huntington. It was 6 or 7 years ago at least. And in talking to them about how ridiculous it is that they're called Walk Boston when they're out here all the time. I think we should just take credit, even though they didn't give it to us, for their name change. So they are able to bring some technical assistance and in data collection, engaging the community, which some of you have been a part of. And then our funders for this grant are the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and that money flows through Health Resources in Action. So that's just like a really quick, context to where how the walking maps are funded and where they sit within this overall project. And I think the walking maps really are just one component of our larger effort to promote walkability in the Hilltowns and to really actually change policy and infrastructure. So you don't just have really great walking maps, you've also got really great infrastructure, and you're looking at, those connection points and how to kind of work the system in a way to allow you to actually advance more walkable infrastructure. And so we're all a part of that work. And Joan, I think, is the main one leading that up, but we're all kind of trying to work together in alignment over the next couple of years. We've got 2 more years left to this grant. So that's a brief overview. And if you can, just go ahead and put in the chat your name. If you want to say the town you're a part of, or if you have another affiliation you'd like to share. I know some people have already put their name in the chat. Anything else, in fact, you want to share with us that you might not get a chance to share today, pop it in the chat, because we're going to just save the chat, and all of those comments are actually going to be a part of kind of our next steps process. So feel free to drop whatever you want in there. I'm seeing Carrie is here, and Sue and Pat and Lise. Great. Goshen, Chesterfield. Hi, Jan. Hi, Liz. Yay, it's like a reunion. Yeah, so keep on putting your name and your affiliations in there, and I will keep us moving. Oops. 1, 2. There we go. So just on that topic of what we've done, we've completed 8 maps. So exciting. I've got them all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see them on your screen. And the actually hot off the press is Worthington's updated map that just came in this week. And so a lot of these, some of these are new in the sense that they've only had 1 revision, and some we've had updates. If you're a community that has not had a revision to your map, that's a possibility for sometime in the next 2 years. So let me know if your community feels ready to do a revision, and that might just be adding another route or updating some kind of infrastructure change that happened in your community, or just like a little design lift or some new information that you want to feature. So it's a pretty simple process. We've done it now with a bunch of communities, and then we can pay for another printing because we have money in our budget. If you want copies, PDFs of any map in the Hilltowns that we've created, you can go to hilltowncdc.org/healthyaging, or just Google that, which is what I always do. And then you'll get to a website that will talk about the Healthy Aging Grant, and then have each of these thumbnail pics of all of the communities that we've worked with. And notably missing is Goshen. And I won't tell you the entire story about Goshen. Some of you do know, but we recently tried to revise the Goshen map and ran into an issue with a conflict with a local resident, and felt like it was not advisable to continue. And so right now the Goshen map has kind of been pulled for the time being, but we hope that we might be able to work towards a better outcome in the future. So anyway, so you won't see Goshen here, but you see all the other 8 communities, and you just click on the thumbnail and it brings you to the PDF of the map itself. And then some of you might know that we have also a online portal with all the map data. It's pretty mobile friendly. So instead of looking at a PDF, which is like a very big file, like on a phone, you can go to hilltownwalks.org. It's not the most advanced and beautiful portal, but it is very functional. And so if you go to hilltownwalks.org, this is what you'll see. You'll see all these little squiggly lines, which is all the routes that we've collectively mapped. And so I'll just give you a super, super quick tutorial. If you want to find a place, you can put it in here. I'm going to put Blandford. Plymouth County, that's weird. Okay. It'll go right to the place you're looking for. And then, you know, you can just click on any route and the route will pop up and it'll be the same information in the map. You know, moderate, how many miles, how many minutes, the description that you would see in the map, any more links having to do with that area. And then if you scroll down, you can click on this image and it will take you to the PDF version. And so essentially all the data on the maps have been put into this portal. If you scroll in even closer, you'll start to see these places of interest that, you know, appear on the maps as well. Then you can kind of scroll out. Very interactive. And then there's over here, there's a legend that essentially if you click it, you'll be able to see the list. It's not, the routes aren't clickable on this side, but you can click it and then everything will populate. So that's hilltownwalks.org. And, oops, I think there might be one more slide I want to show you. Before we go into a group discussion, I'm wondering if anyone has any questions about any of the information I shared. Jan.
It's just a quick one, but we've been having many meetings to develop a new open space recreation plan for the town. And I'm part of that group. And one of the things that obviously has come up in all our town forums and asking people what's important is walking, walking trails and markings and so forth. And I've been trying to share information about how much our group has done with this already. And so you don't have duplication of effort. So would you mind if I shared this site with them and the portal and say, take a look, you know, let's not duplicate things when we don't have to. We can add to what a nice platform you've set up already. So that's all I had to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a public site. It's for anyone to use. You can promote it within your community if you want.
Okay.
We do have some ideas about improving it. And that's partly why we won't get to talk about them tonight, but that's partly why we've been wanting more contact with the communities around the walking maps, because we want to hear more over time from you all about, you know, I know there's sensitivity about putting data online and promoting beautiful sites in the Hilltowns. And so we want to proceed very cautiously, but also, you know, think about how we can better share this information electronically, because increasingly that's how people will be navigating, right? Using their phones and looking for trails that way.
Some will.
Yeah.
Our internet
The paper maps are not going away, don't worry.
Yeah, our internet service in the Hilltowns is not very good. So sometimes being able to access things electronically or technical wise, it's not always 100%. So I know you just printed out some maps for us last year, but they didn't have the link for doing this. Are we going to be able to have some new posters that we can distribute that will include the link? For instance, our newsletter's coming out in the beginning of May. So if you could send us something, we could put it in the newsletter, and that way we can add the link. And to you too, Liz, if you want to put anything in our newsletter, it's May deadline. And anyways.
Yep. So yeah, I'm looking at the Huntington one. Yeah, when we updated it, we didn't put in the QR code. The more recent ones have it. Should have it. Yes.
So that might be nice to get a reprint for us with the QR code.
Yeah, I think whenever you need more maps, Kat, whenever you need more maps, just let me know and then we can put it. So the QR code is there. Nice. And if you scan with your phone, it'll go to hilltownwalks.org. This is from Worthington, so.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
that's updating.
Yeah.
One of the things, I liked what Jan was saying, and I'd like to hear more about what her goals are, because we're working on making our town age and dementia friendly. And one of the things that was brought to our attention, I mean, walking in the Hilltowns for some seniors can be challenging. I know Liz has her wonderful trails that she has, and she has many seniors that go with her trails.
Yeah.
But some aren't as, some are more fragile than others. And putting benches out along certain areas in the trail was one of the things I was hoping to manifest, and was looking for grants that might be relevant to that. You know, because we do have town property. Huntington happens to be building poor. We have so many town properties spread
That'd
out,
be
but yet
great.
none good enough for a senior center. But anyways, so that's one of the things I would like to help manifest, and probably talk to Jan more about what her goals are for this.
I'd love it,
Pretty
Kat,
safe.
because we're involved with the same thing with age friendly and plans that have been there since Christ was a corporal. But they all overlap, and there are monies. It's just hard to disentangle tracks, and I'm sorry to say I have a bias in trying to get things that are Hilltown specific, because otherwise it gets lost in the whole swamp. So I do know we're talking about benches. We're talking about even a pavilion over in the town park. So I'm beginning to feel encouraged. I couldn't have said that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
I know,
I'd love to talk. I haven't seen you in forever.
just on Zoom meetings, but not personally. Yes, it's kind of hard to get together, but maybe we should make a date, girl. And I
Yeah,
want to make a date with Sue. We still have, with our gardens growing, that would be nice. But one of the things,
Kat, do you mind if I interrupt you? Because I want to, we're going to go into a round around successes and challenges that everyone is experiencing, which I think is actually what you're kind of getting at. And before we do that, I just wanted to see if Liz, I specifically asked Liz if she would talk about what they're doing in Chester as a way to kick us off, and then we can kind of go into our share. Was that okay, Kat? Do you mind holding?
I don't mind holding it all, but I do have to leave
Oh, you just muted. So when do you have to leave? Because
around 7. So
okay, so we'll go to Liz, and then I'll pass it to Kristen. She's going to facilitate our round, but we'll start with you after Liz. Okay. All right.
Gosh, you put me on the spot.
Oh, you don't need to if you don't want to share, but I mean,
No.
Chester always sort of knocks it out of the park. So
So
I
that's
love some of the things
They
happening there.
really do. Yeah, just a few minutes of how you guys have been so successful, Liz.
well, let me tell you, in my opinion, I think Chester is easy. I mean, when you guys brought up the idea of doing the walking map, we all jumped on it. I think 10 people showed up for the first initial session, and it's easy, meaning that we have a lot of history, we have a lot of trails, and we have a variety of trails. So we even have, short little things that are only a half a mile in the woods, but they're walking for our seniors. So, we have a great variety of things, and we're actually still adding to our walking map. And we just came out with our newest version. And what we had decided to do this time is to add a few more historical places on our walking routes, and, to bring in even more attention. What we do is we distribute our walking maps to the local real estate agents to give to the people that are purchasing homes or property or just land in town, so they can get like a nice warm welcome and an intro and see what Chester is all about. And something, obviously all of us in all of our towns have history, and we have a goal that we want to get people out there because it's healthy. And sometimes there's people that live in your town that don't even know that they may have a place to walk, 5 minutes or right out their door. And we found that to be true in Chester, believe it or not. So there's streets that have easy, flat routes that anybody can do. People with children, and the seniors both. And when I drive through town, I see people walking, biking, they're even biking on those routes. And I see it all the time. And I see it more and more. And I'm hoping that maybe our walking maps are encouraging them to get out there and let them know, hey, there's this other place and it's just on the other side of town and you can go there too. I wish that the walking map would do, we could cover a bigger area because we have even more to offer people, which is, you can't put it all on the one map. I understand, then you can't read it. So, but I don't know. We've had a great amount of feedback. Obviously we have 2 parks in Chester, and one of them is great, Hamden Park, which is just off Route 20. And I've had people there on many occasions from out of town and out of state, because it's a historic and a short, kind of woodsy, kind of not, kind of place to walk and introduce yourself to Chester with a restaurant at the end. So, what more could you ask for? That's why I say Chester's easy. So, I mean, basically that's it. And then, Dave Pierce, obviously is a great person to have working with you on anything, because, he's the curator of the Chester Railway Museum. And the Keystone Arches obviously is our biggest thing, and it's not even on our walking map. We point people in that direction. It's not even on there. So I really encourage all of you guys to include the historical spots that people could go, and maybe have the walking routes include some of them, or even if the walking routes are close to them, you can make the little arrow and point them in that direction and have a little blurb on your map that says, hey, we have this. Like Plainfield has a lot of great stuff. So, and same thing with Huntington. So we did do a walk with Huntington COA with Kat a few years ago across the Littleville Dam, and that was great. It's just I can't say it enough. It's a wonderful tool to use for everything. And I pass out the walking maps of every town's map I can get a hold of at all of my nonprofits events, and people take them. So you guys are definitely going to see people there.
Great, Liz. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And I also, you just made me think of other entities that are passing out maps that folks may or may not know about, but the Hilltown Community Health Center also has a bunch of maps. And so they use those maps through their community health workers program. And then I also just recently got a kind of random email from Kim Savory saying, oh, we sent them out to some parents through some kind of parent program. And so those maps are also being utilized by the health center in a sort of in a specific and targeted way for people who need to get more exercise, which is pretty exciting. So let's go, I'll pass it to Kristen, who's going to start us off in a round. And I don't know if you really need the slide, Kristen, because I think what you're going to ask people is pretty easy, and I can put it in the chat.
It'd be nicer to be able to see each other.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So yeah, like Clark said, we're just going to do a round and invite you to share your name and what town you're from, and any successes, things that have really worked with your walking maps in your town, and or challenges and things you've struggled with or haven't gone as well as you had hoped. And you can, always feel free to pass if you don't have anything you want to share. That's totally fine. So I'll start with you, Kat, since you have to leave, and then I'll go to Carrie after that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to miss everyone else's, but can't be in 2 places at once. It just doesn't work, even on Zoom. But whoops, there's my alarm. So anyways, with the walking map is great. I see a lot more people in the town walking, by people who bike, use it. We distribute it at the country store and several other places. We did have a problem with one area. The country store actually was very unwelcoming to people parking in their lot or using their area. So that was very unfortunate. One of the things, Jeff tried to get a kiosk for the Riverwalk, which would be great to have a kiosk somewhere with a URL now that that's spamming. You get a grant, but then by the time COVID hit, and then by the time we tried to manifest it, the prices has gone through the roof and the grant never covered it. So I'm not quite sure where he stands there, but it would be great to get a kiosk somewhere in that area. And again, the benches, we have many town properties spread around. We'd like to get the benches to make it more comfortable and welcoming for the seniors. And we do have It Takes a Village, which I haven't thought to put out some maps there, so I can bring some maps to Lisa. It Takes a Village, because they usually, you know, do a lot with the younger parents, and we always have them at the library, and they're always passing them out at the library. And of course, we have them on site at the town hall and Stanton Hall. But it was great. I'm so glad you guys manifested it and letting it continue to prosper and grow. So thank you.
Thanks, Kat. We'll go to Carrie and then Elaine.
Actually, my name is pronounced just Care.
Oh, I was actually calling on Carrie Normandin.
Oh,
I'll come back to you, Care. I'll come back to
You
you.
go for it, Ms. Normandin.
Thank you for letting me know the pronunciation.
I like that name, Care. That's cool. So my name's Carrie Normandin. I am the coordinator for the Goshen Council on Aging, and I would actually defer all Goshen questions to Joan because she's our gal in Goshen. So I really don't know much about the maps. I do have the maps, and I heard a slight bit about the Goshen issue, but I really have nothing else. So I'm new.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. I'll go to you now, Care, and then I'll go to Elaine.
Well, I think Elaine and I can tag team because we're both.
Yeah, good idea.
Beautiful.
Why don't we just do that, Elaine?
And remind us where you're from.
Plainfield.
That's right.
Yeah. I think we have a beautiful map. I'm thinking that I love the idea of the history on it. While I was looking at the map today, I thought, you know, there's one cemetery listed and we have 8 amazing cemeteries, and two others are near walks but not on them. But I'm thinking when we reprint, we ought to put those cemeteries on, and I suspect this applies to all the Hilltowns. Put those cemeteries on with a date of the cemetery, because people go find cemeteries and then they'd find the map. I think it can work both ways.
Yeah.
We have maps, help me Elaine, at the library,
Yeah,
at town events, in the town hall.
yes.
We had talked when we got the map in hard copy that what we need to do next is the group that created the map adopt a route, pick a date, and sponsor a hike. And we
Yes.
drop the ball on it. And it's another spring and summer, and I'm feeling a kick in the pants here. So
Yeah, but-
I'll be harassing our group that we really.
Oh, yeah. But in fairness, Care, the map is pretty new. It's still relatively new.
Mhm.
And winter came very early to Plainfield.
Well, and you should also be aware that we are coordinating. Polly, the COA coordinator in Plainfield, and myself are presenting a walk.
I saw that. And
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that Polly and who's the coordinator of the COA and the chair, Shirley Todd, they have advertised in our little newsletter that they would be willing to lead walks from the Plainfield Walks map.
Yeah.
And I was hoping one of them would be here tonight because I don't know if they were successful with that at all.
I think Polly said she has done it once
Okay.
and had maybe 1 or 2 people turn out. I was not
Okay.
aware of Shirley.
But this is, again, I think a lot of it is the newness of our map it's still fresh and people still need to learn about it. One of our challenges is, we don't have sidewalks anywhere in town. There is the planning board is working on a plan for a sidewalk, which is part of a town walk in the center of town. And whether that comes to fruition, I don't know. But I personally feel it'll probably help create more community feeling. And it'll also help people feel safer, because 116 is a very busy road. And so I think that's a challenge for us, is that we have absolutely no sidewalks.
Yes, yeah.
So
I really like the idea of benches too.
I do too.
Isn't it?
Great
isn't it
idea.
Fun if you're out there in the woods, or on some of the non-populated areas of a roadside, and lo and behold, there's a bench.
Yeah.
You know, it's an inviting thing, and people talk about it. I think that's a fabulous idea. And
I do too. Great
I
idea.
wonder if there isn't an Eagle Scout out there in each of our towns who wants to take it on.
Love that idea. All right, I'm going to keep us. Oh, you have something else, Elaine?
No, I was just saying, and I was just thinking someone might want to commemorate someone with that bench.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. You know, what a great idea.
This feels like the perfect segue for Sue O'Rourke.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. We'll send it to Sue. Thank you both.
Okay, thank you. Sue, West Hampton. I can't remember when we did the map, Joan, 18 months ago.
That sounds about right.
And I wasn't 100% involved with it. Certainly the idea to have it. And we have them in the library. And we also have a town phone book, which the Friends of the Library create. And this year is the next iteration of after 4 years. And every time we have a new person in town, I look at the paper, the Gazette, and I see who's bought property in West Hampton, and I give them a phone book and a map as a welcome. We also have the phone book, the maps in the library. We then followed with a Walk Boston audit, which was really good. And then we came across a little bit of negativity. Some people not wanting to change, didn't want bike lanes, didn't want. But as part of our open space recreational plan and our municipal vulnerability plan, everything from the walking audit has gone into that. And so that's got to be a positive. And here's Ray again, because Ray's the kind of walking guru in town, and he may say something about how the map has been used, because I've been otherwise engaged on a community garden. But anyway, I'm delighted we have the maps. And I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of benches. We did have an Eagle Scout in West Hampton, and she made something like 20, and they're all over the library, but too many. So yes, we could put them on some trails. What a great idea that is. We might we have summer concerts. Maybe we'll put them out in the summer concerts for people. And I think that's probably, I'd love Ray to chime in and say what I haven't said.
Go ahead, Ray. We're just talking about successes and challenges with the walking maps. If you'd like to add anything. Are you there, Ray? We can't hear you. Maybe something is going on with your audio, Ray. We can't hear you. I'll keep going, and if you are able to speak up, feel free at whenever you can. How about Pat Kennedy? And then Jan Jibbo.
I'm from Worthington, and Lisa is here also from Worthington. So
it is a little bit hard to understand you.
Sorry, how's this?
Oh, that's better.
Okay. I'm from Worthington, and Lisa's here also from Worthington. I'll just say briefly that, of course, we just had our going on, and we thought we would do a hike connected.
Thinking about doing a hike this summer. It was a little hard to hear you, but I think that
Okay,
Lise, do
good.
you want to jump in and
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Lisa from Worthington. And so, yeah, I've been working on the maps and with Pat and Ben and Debbie and Rowan, who's no longer working on it. But anyway, I've been busy distributing the maps from time to time, like at the town hall, at the store, at the library. I haven't like thought to give them to real estate agents, but I think that's a great idea. And yeah, if we could possibly get a community walk going in July, the early part of July, that would be great. And we could hand out the maps. And the other thing I thought to do is possibly to stop by other town halls and drop off the Worthington map. Because Worthington has all the other maps from the adjacent towns, and I was wondering, how did they get there? So I thought maybe something Pat and I could do would be to distribute some maps to the other town halls.
yes.
I'm here. Ray's here.
Oh, Ray, you're here.
Ray, I had some technical difficulties. I listened to everything you guys said. I just couldn't speak, but
Now you can speak. Okay.
right,
Let your voice
right.
be heard.
well, as far as the map is concerned, in West Hampton, the Council on Aging has a hiking group. And a lot of the walks and hikes have started actually from the hikes and walks that we've done in town with our group. So it's sort of integral in that way. And we're continually kind of expanding our walks. So I think maybe in a few years, we're going to be looking at the map and maybe making some deletions and some additions. See, anything else I want to say? Well, as far as people who like the map, we had a Jim McGovern visit town about 3-4 weeks ago, and he said the walking maps are really a wonderful way that the Hilltowns, the small towns, things to do. So he was very impressed with the walking maps. We gave him a sample of the different walking maps from the Hilltowns.
Awesome.
Can I just pop in for a quick sec?
Yeah.
Ray, I don't know if you were here or heard when I said that we have 2 more years on this current grant. And so if a community is interested in doing a revision, we should try to do it within those 2 years, unless Rev McGovern wants to give us money to keep going. We would love to do that. But right now we don't have funding necessarily lined up after those 2 years. But yeah, for any community that hasn't had a revision, we can schedule that in sometime in the next 2 years. So let's be in touch about that.
Yeah, things change in town. Sometimes some developer buys land where there's a road, and now we can't go on it. And sometimes we discover something. What happened was there's a place in our town called Tipping Rock. And there was a road called Tipping Rock Road that went to it. It's kind of a neat, rock on top of rock that moves around. And there was no access to it, but we found a back way through an old town road. And we're going to integrate that in. And that's a walk that we wanted to put on the map, but we couldn't because we had no way to get to Tipping Rock. So there's always things going on. And so we'll probably be looking to make some changes in the next, say, year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So let's just be in touch at some point about that. And also I put in the chat that I did a mailing to all the COAs at one point with a bunch of the maps from every town. So that might be why some maps showed up in other places. But I can do that again if I wasn't planning to do it to all towns unless they were requesting, but if someone wants, 20 maps from each town, I can put together a mailing and I can mail it to you, or I can mail it to the COA, or I can mail it to the, town offices or whomever would be appropriate to put out. So just let me know.
Awesome.
It was really nice to get the shipment before. And the COAs have gotten copies of it, and we keep replenishing distribution. I know that down at Greg's at the store, Joe, and at the center and so forth. And I really I think part of the strength of putting that together is the number of people, Clark, you got together from the community who are still active in these other community groups. So that kind of cross-pollination makes making it come together a little bit easier. I do think we need to make some changes. So I'll have time after I meet about 12 deadlines to get to that. But I do think we talked about benches before, and I even had somebody who said when I was ready to put him in, give him a call because he could pay for them. But you know, time moves on, and he died. So now I have to, we'll look at other sources, and I'm interested to hear about the Eagle Scouts and what those adventures have been. But there are funds out there actually to help pay for these things. I do think markings is going to, you know, make a like a state forest. This is where the trail is, and in all the forums we've had on the OSRP, people have said they want signage so you know where these things are, not just on a map, but when you get there you can see a stake that says, you know, Buffalo Hill. So I'm encouraged, and I think this is a great project. Am I leaving anything out, Joan? I don't think so.
Did you say you're interested in doing a revision? Because I'm frantically taking meeting notes here, and I will revisit you about that if that's what you said.
Yeah, I have to take a look at it again
Okay.
with some of the people in the group, but I can't do it on the hoof because I'm trying to feed in what the OSRP, the report hasn't come out from the Conway students yet.
Well,
I don't know if you've been through an OSRP project planning process, but it has been wonderful to get feedback from everybody, and it's from the community. But I know when the rubber meets the road and it's time to make decisions, having your priorities set will be important. And what we're talking about is more neutral in the context of things than other issues might be. So,
yeah.
Is there anyone that hasn't gone? Because I have something in mind that I wanted to share before I forget.
There's 2 people left.
Okay.
Tomorrow. So should I keep going, Joan?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll send it to Tamar and then Gina.
I'm going to be quick. I'm really kind of here as an observer. I live in Williamsburg. I mean, I work in Williamsburg. I live in Northampton. And I think Williamsburg just has so many groups that hike and so many hiking places that this has never come up for us. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to pass.
Okay, thanks, Tamar. And lastly, Gina.
You called on me before I could type out my message in the chat. I'm just here as an observer. Thanks.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Gina. Joan, go ahead.
So we are interested in working with Williamsburg to create a walking map, and I did reach out. I forget who it was that I reached out to, but at a couple of years ago, the feedback that I got was they were really feverishly working on the Greenway project, and I would love to get reconnected with folks if you have any thoughts on who might be a good resource for me to begin that conversation again.
Melissa Wilson is the director there.
Yep, I talk to her all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will definitely keep that as a priority. The other thing that I wanted to share is I have a small grant that I was awarded that can support organized walks like what I'm putting together out in Plainfield. It's enough money to support a couple of different walks with a gift card drawing that we're having to our Hilltown mobile market. So you would get a gift balance to a Hilltown mobile market for product. But right now I only have Plainfield engaged. So if this sounds like something that you would like to do, I need to actually do this by the end of June 30th. And what my intention would be is to bring some sort of walk-friendly snack and some water. And if you have a map in your community, we'll choose a walk on that, from that map, a route, and we'll do a little drawing of participants that attend. We'll all get in on this drawing to get a gift certificate for the Hilltown Mobile Market. So reach out to me directly if you have interest in that. I will put my email in the chat.
Thanks, Joan, and thanks everyone for your thoughts. It's really interesting to hear what everybody's doing in your towns with the maps, and also share ideas that maybe will inspire each other. I'll pass it back to you, Clark. I think we have some ideas too about how we could all work together.
Yes, we do. And before I say that, looking to work with Russell, Montgomery, Middlefield, or Williamsburg. I think those are our 4 undone communities from
I
our
have been
kind
in
of
contact
catchment.
with Russell too, so I'm not
You
sure.
have, but I see that Liz is talking about Karen again. So let's make a connection there, a reconnection there. And if anyone has people who are in Middlefield, Montgomery, or yes, if we can reconnect with Williamsburg, the person who would be the champion, who would get other people excited, is really the person we're looking for. Yeah, so our last couple minutes, we want to share with you a couple of ideas that we have about next steps and ways we might be able to keep building this program, beyond individual communities. And I think I'll just go through them, and then Kristen's going to pop up a poll on your screen in a minute. And so you'll get to actually tell us with the poll what your interest is, and then we can follow up later, because we were anticipating that we would have a good number of people and not a lot of time, which is both true. And so the poll will help us just get a quick pulse from folks. So, but I'll first give an overview. So we are interested in possibly creating a regional group that would meet regularly, not super frequently, but maybe monthly. And that group would essentially focus their efforts on either some regional work or some regional work that would support folks at the town level. So some ideas we have are collectively developing a toolkit with all of the ways that the walking maps can be used in town. Of course, many ideas have been shared already today, and we know that there's more out there. One idea that hadn't been shared, but is always in my mind, is that the libraries that are creating walking maps kits, so people can check out of the library that have other resources in there. So just an example, I know in Blandford that's happening, and probably some other places. So really trying to source all of the brilliant ideas and ways people are using the maps, and then turn it into a toolkit that then we can turn back to towns and really promote it within the towns. But in order to do that, we really need more people than just the 3 of us to kind of understand what's going on in the town. Having a regional group would help us kind of get feedback from you all about what to include and all of that kind of stuff. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2 is to focus on a website, really look at that website and an online resource. So I shared the hilltownwalks.org online portal. It's very basic. It's not super pretty. We do have a little bit of money in our grant to enhance that. But as I sort of mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, I want to be sensitive to the idea of putting more data online and promoting that. And so we wouldn't want to do that unless we had a good group of people sort of guiding us in that process. And then the third idea is to really focus in on sort of the policy side of walkability and complete streets policy at the town level, and really figuring out how to best support towns to codify within their policies that it's important to think of pedestrians and bikers whenever they're doing any kind of road reconstruction work. And the cool thing about that is, some of you know, if your town is bought into the Complete Streets program, they can then access money for infrastructure. And it's small beans. It's not like sidewalks for 1 million miles, but small sidewalk connectors, wheelchair ramps, painted crosswalk, maybe flashing beacon, those kinds of, pedestrian amenities that can really help a town form those connections. And the walking maps are great because it's sort of already revealed to us the places that we think are the best places to walk. And we know that within a lot of those routes, there are some small changes that could be made. And so the Complete Streets program can really help bring the funding piece to it. But it is a whole process, of course. It's with the state Mass DOT. But we have Joan here and other TA providers to help towns move through that process. And so that's sort of another thing that we could focus on as a region, is promoting the Complete Streets policy and funding program.
Mhm.
So those are some of our ideas. And what we want to know from you is, one, would you be interested in participating in a regional group that would probably meet about once a month? I would maybe just even guess maybe an hour to an hour and a half. And if so, what of those things I said would you be interested in most? And I think Kristen's going to put the poll up for you to respond to.
Yes, so you should see a poll pop up on your screen and you can respond. Are you seeing it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and as folks are filling out that poll, we don't have a ton of time left, but I want to give a couple minutes to just open up the floor if anyone has any other ideas about what we might do together, or any reactions to some of the things I shared. We could just take like 3 or 4 minutes if anyone wants to share something with the group before we close. Liz.
I just wanted to say, whoever said the idea with the kiosk and some sort of signage, I know like whenever you say signage, especially if you're like on a state highway and DOT doesn't want a million signs and stuff, but maybe even like a small little plaque of where our routes are, that really would be great. Because honestly, I've been stopped driving through town on the side of the road. People ask me where they are. So, that would be really awesome. And I think that would even, push the program even further and be like, look at this, you go into a town and look at that sign says that that's a walking route. Hey, and people even coming through would stop and do that if they saw that. Because sometimes they can't get into town hall or into the library. Like our town hall is open whenever the heck. So, and sometimes it's hard to get, people that are coming through to grab a map. We don't have, and that's the other thing with the kiosk. If there's a kiosk with, one of those weatherproof things, even if it's a little tiny kiosk and you could have your town's walking map in it, that would be phenomenal. I mean, I run out of the maps. Like if I go somewhere to an event or if I have an event, I give out all the ones I have every time.
Okay. Yeah, so almost what I hear you saying and what has been shared a bunch is with benches and other things is one focus we could have is just on, infrastructure, like not like sidewalk type infrastructure, but more like infrastructure that would support the map. So like kiosks or signage. Certainly if we did signage, we'd have to work very much regionally, and there's probably a lot of people that would have to be involved in that effort, but possibly well worth the effort. And then in terms of kiosks, yeah, some towns I know have them, and some towns don't but want them. And so usually it's a funding issue.
Yeah. I mean, you can usually find a group that'll donate a kiosk too. So that does happen. I mean, our group has donated, I think 4 already this year. But I mean, I know the crosswalk was, when you said challenges, I lied. Chester did have a challenge, the crosswalk thing, because we have Route 20 going right through town, and on either side of Route 20 are walking routes. So we couldn't formally open our Chester Beckett Railroad walking route until we got a crosswalk across Route 20, and that took 3 years. So,
Yeah.
you know, the crosswalks are a challenge.
Yeah, really any infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
The big investment in time and advocacy. Yeah. And you had to work with Mass DOT on that, is that?
Yes, yeah, and I tried to collaborate because I'm also on the Jacob's Ladder Scenic Byway. I'm the Chester rep, so, and we have DOT on our board, and I tried to like get all those groups together to do it. And Jeff did the same thing with Huntington, because we just met last month and he was actually telling me about what he was doing with the river walk, because I was introduced to the Huntington River Walk, I think maybe like 8 years ago. It was a long time ago, and like still very, very slow progress. So, I mean, I understand, like when you have to involve, you know, DOT in anything, it's a long waiting list.
Yeah. I think we're done with our poll. We can share the results briefly so you can all see it, and then
You seeing it?
can people see the results? Yes, okay. So it looks like there's some interest. Yes, some yeses and maybes, which is exciting. And I believe we have through Zoom, since we have your registration, we actually should be able to see who said yes and maybe. And so you yeses and maybes, we are going to follow up with you probably sometime in the next couple of weeks, and maybe try to find a date and time to meet and have an inaugural meeting, and then we can kind of go from there and see how that group develops and what we want to focus on. So that's our next step coming out of this meeting. I'm kind of excited. Actually, I was hoping there'd be enough people who would want to come back. So thank you for your interest. And it's 7:32 and it's a beautiful evening. So I think we should close. But I really appreciate everyone showing up. Hope to see you all again soon. Any final words?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Go take a walk.
Gorgeous evening for it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing anyone even showed up tonight. It's so beautiful.
Good night. Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye.